The tow truck's chains scraped against the asphalt as Officer Ryan Caldwell slapped the citation against Dr. Lena Thompson's windshield. "This vehicle's getting impounded. You people never learn where you don't belong." Dr. Lena Thompson stood in her tailored navy suit, holding Nordstrom bags, watching the veteran officer speak loud enough for everyone to hear. The Riverside Mall parking lot, in the section clearly marked for patrons with violators to be towed, had become a stage. Officer Ryan Caldwell noticed phones rising in the gathering crowd. He smirked. "Record all you want, the law is the law." This is one of those stories that reminds us how real life unfolds when power meets prejudice. These stories, these touching stories, they reveal something most people never see coming. Have you ever been accused of not belonging somewhere you had every right to be while the person judging you held all the visible power? Dr. Lena Thompson had arrived and parked in spot 47. Her receipt from Nordstrom showed she had been inside the store for a short while. Everything about her visit was ordinary, legal, and documented. Officer Caldwell stood too close, his hand resting on his belt near his weapon. It was the classic intimidation stance. "This section requires validated parking. You don't have a stamp." Dr. Lena Thompson's voice remained remarkably steady. She pulled the validated ticket from her purse. The bright orange validation sticker was clearly visible, matching every mall requirement. "Officer, my parking is validated. What's your badge number?" Officer Caldwell barely glanced at the ticket. "Doesn't matter. I witnessed you loitering by the luxury stores. Security called about suspicious behavior." The crowd had grown. 2 people were filming openly. Officer Caldwell's partner, Officer Lisa Ramirez, arrived in a second patrol car. She looked uncomfortable immediately. "Your kind always finds a way to game the system," Officer Caldwell continued, his voice carrying across the lot. "How'd you afford that car anyway?" Dr. Lena Thompson drove a pristine black BMW. She kept her phone recording openly, held at chest height. "Officer, I've violated no ordinance. My parking is validated. I'm happy to wait while you verify with mall security." Officer Caldwell called dispatch instead. "Yeah, we got a non-compliant subject, black female, refusing to cooperate with the tow order." Officer Lisa Ramirez stepped closer. Her voice was soft, almost pleading. "Ryan, she's got validation. Maybe we should check with..." Officer Caldwell turned on his partner. "I'm the senior officer here, Ramirez. You want to write the report explaining why we let someone flagged by security just walk?" Officer Ramirez went silent. The system was already protecting aggression over accuracy. As Dr. Lena Thompson reached for her phone to make a call, her wallet fell open. A black Centurion card was visible for just a moment, the embossed name partially showing Dr. Lena Thompson. She closed it quickly. No mention, no flex. Her phone lock screen showed a notification preview as she picked it up. Board meeting moved to later. Riverside Properties LLC. Officer Caldwell missed both clues entirely. He was too focused on asserting dominance, on making his point, on teaching a lesson to someone he had decided did not belong. "Let me see some real ID," Officer Caldwell said. "Not something printed off the internet." Dr. Lena Thompson handed him her driver's license. It was current, valid, and matched her face perfectly. Officer Caldwell studied it longer than necessary, holding it up to the light, checking the edges. "Officer Caldwell," Dr. Lena Thompson said, checking her watch, "I'm going to give you one opportunity to verify my parking was legal and end this professionally." Officer Caldwell scoffed. "Or what? You'll call a lawyer? Lady, I've been doing this for years. Seen every hustle." The tow truck driver had arrived. Mike was gruff and middle-aged, clearly just wanting to do his job and leave. He attached the first hook to Dr. Lena Thompson's BMW, while Officer Caldwell supervised, arms crossed. The crowd had grown. 3 people were recording. A black woman in her 50s spoke up from the sidewalk. "This is racist." Officer Caldwell ignored her completely. Mall security supervisor Kevin Daniels arrived in a golf cart. He was in his 40s, wearing a polo shirt with security supervisor embroidered on the chest. Officer Caldwell spoke first. Unvalidated Parker then got belligerent when cited. Security called you about her, right? Kevin Daniels looked confused. He checked his tablet, scrolling through logs. We didn't call about anyone in this section, but if you say she's unvalidated. He looked at Dr. Lena Thompson with an expression that was apologetic but not really. Ma'am, if the officer says, Kevin? Dr. Lena Thompson's voice was ice calm. May I call you Kevin? Your name tag says security supervisor. Pull your camera footage. Section 4, spot 47. Kevin Daniels hesitated. I'd need to get authorization from property management. She's stalling, Officer Caldwell interrupted. Let's wrap this up. Mike had attached the final hook. The BMW was fully secured to the flatbed. He turned to Dr. Lena Thompson. Ma'am, once it's hooked, there are impound fees plus daily storage. You can contest at municipal court. Dr. Lena Thompson photographed everything. The truck, the license plate, Mike's ID badge. What's the tow company name and permit number? Mike looked uncomfortable. Look, lady, I just follow orders. Cop says tow. Now you're blocking business operations, Officer Caldwell said. That's an additional violation. Officer Lisa Ramirez spoke up again, her voice stronger this time. Ryan, I really think we should verify the validation. This doesn't feel right. You want me to file an insubordination report? Officer Caldwell turned on her fully. Because I will. Officer Ramirez went silent again. The message was clear to everyone watching. Dr. Lena Thompson addressed the crowd. Everyone recording, please send footage to my legal email. Keep your timestamps visible. The black woman who had spoken earlier stepped forward. I saw her walk out of Nordstrom. She wasn't loitering anywhere. Several people nodded in agreement. Officer Caldwell dismissed them all with a wave. Eyewitnesses here aren't credible. They're obviously biased. The words hung in the air. The irony was lost on no one except Officer Caldwell himself. The BMW sat fully secured on the flatbed. Officer Caldwell wrote a second citation, taking his time with each letter. Obstruction of business operations. Dr. Lena Thompson made her decision. She pulled out her phone and dialed a number onto speaker mode. A female voice answered immediately, professional and crisp. Riverside Properties CEO's office. Hi, Jennifer. It's Lena, she said. Her voice was still perfectly calm. I'm in the south parking lot. I need you to pull security footage for spot 47 between my arrival and now. Also, who authorized mall police to operate in our lot? The assistant's voice changed. Our lot? Dr. Thompson, you're at... Oh, stand by. Officer Caldwell's expression shifted just slightly. The first flicker of concern. Who the hell are you calling? Property management, Dr. Lena Thompson said, as is my right. A black Escalade pulled into the parking lot. It moved with purpose. Parking directly behind the tow truck, out stepped Victor Hale, a black man in his 60s, sharp charcoal suit, carrying a leather portfolio. He walked straight to Kevin Daniels. Why is one of our board members being towed from her own parking lot? The crowd gasped. Several people reacted audibly. Officer Caldwell's face drained of color. Kevin Daniels stammered, looking between Victor Hale and Dr. Lena Thompson. Board member, nobody told me. Victor Hale's voice was measured, but carried authority. Dr. Lena Thompson co-owns the property management company that operates this mall. Now, would someone like to explain what's happening here? Dr. Lena Thompson addressed the cameras directly. To be clear for everyone recording, I am a 34% shareholder in Riverside Properties LLC. I serve as board secretary. This is my parking lot. The silence that followed was profound. Even the traffic noise from the nearby highway seemed to fade. Officer Caldwell stood frozen, citation still in his hand. Mike, the tow truck driver, was already unhooking the BMW. He wanted no part of whatever was about to happen. There's no way she... How was I supposed to know? Officer Caldwell's voice had lost all its earlier confidence. "You weren't supposed to know," Dr. Lena Thompson said. Her tone hadn't changed. Still calm, still measured. "You were supposed to do your job without bias. Check validation, verify facts, treat people equally." Officer Lisa Ramirez, Officer Caldwell's partner, finally spoke up with conviction. "I tried to tell you." The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. Phones were everywhere. At least 6 people were actively live streaming. Dr. Lena Thompson could see the view counts climbing on one woman's screen. Victor Hale pulled out a tablet from his portfolio. He turned the screen toward Officer Caldwell and the cameras. Riverside Properties LLC ownership structure. Dr. Lena Thompson, 34% shareholder, board secretary, licensed medical doctor with a commercial real estate portfolio spanning 3 states. He scrolled through more screens. Dr. Thompson's background: emergency medicine physician for years, pivoted to real estate investment, co-founded Riverside Properties with millions in seed capital. Current portfolio includes 4 shopping centers, 2 office complexes, and 11 residential buildings. Kevin Daniels looked like he wanted the earth to swallow him. "Dr. Thompson, I sincerely apologize. If I'd known—" "That's the problem," Dr. Lena Thompson interrupted gently. "It shouldn't matter who I am. Every person who parks here legally deserves the same treatment." Victor Hale tapped his tablet again. "I'm pulling up our security logs right now." He read from the screen. 0 calls about suspicious activity in Section 4 today. The last call logged was earlier that day in a different lot. Reported car break-in. Officer Caldwell's fabricated security call was exposed. His lie hung in the air like smoke. Dr. Lena Thompson produced her own receipts, laying them out on the hood of a nearby car. Nordstrom purchase. Coffee from Starbucks in the mall. Validated parking ticket with orange sticker, clearly visible since she had handed it to Officer Caldwell earlier. She turned to Mike, who had finished unhooking her BMW. "Thank you for releasing my vehicle." Officer Caldwell tried one more time. "I issued a lawful citation based on false information, fabricated security calls, and discriminatory profiling." Dr. Lena Thompson cut him off. "I have witnesses, video recordings, multiple live streams, and documented proof of parking validation." She paused. "Officer Caldwell, would you like to revise your report now or after your supervisor reviews all this footage?" Mike climbed back into his tow truck. "Man, I'm not getting sued over this." He pulled away slowly, leaving Officer Caldwell standing alone with his partner and a crowd that was no longer neutral. Officer Caldwell's voice had a desperate edge now. "This is still my scene. You're interfering with police operations." Victor Hale's voice hardened. "Officer, this is private property. Riverside Properties is revoking your authorization to operate here effective immediately. You're trespassing if you don't leave." Dr. Lena Thompson addressed Officer Caldwell directly, her voice low enough that the crowd had to strain to hear. "You're going to provide your supervising officer's contact information. You're going to write an incident report with complete honesty, and you're going to pray your department handles this before I do." Officer Caldwell's defiance flickered back briefly. "You think you can intimidate a police officer? I've got qualified immunity, a union. You can't touch me." Dr. Lena Thompson's smile was the first emotion she had shown in the entire encounter. It was small, knowing, almost sad. "Officer Caldwell, you don't know what you don't know, but you're about to find out." She turned to face the cameras again, addressing the people recording and the thousands now watching online. "Everyone who recorded today, please email footage to my attorney at the address I gave earlier. Also send copies to the local NAACP chapter. I'll post both email addresses on my Instagram in a few minutes." A young black man in the crowd called out, "What's your Instagram, Dr. Lena Thompson?" She said, one word, capital D, capital M, capital R. What Dr. Lena Thompson did not reveal, what she kept as her final card, was her position on the Police Community Oversight Board. She had been appointed some time ago. She had a direct line to the chief, but that information would have maximum impact delivered in a different setting at a different time. Officer Caldwell and Officer Ramirez climbed back into their patrol car. Through the window, everyone could see them arguing. Officer Ramirez was animated, gesturing. Officer Caldwell stared straight ahead. Kevin Daniels approached Dr. Lena Thompson hesitantly. "Dr. Thompson, I need to apologize again. Our security protocols clearly failed today. I should have verified before." "Kevin," Dr. Lena Thompson's voice was kind. "Now write a full report. Include everything you witnessed. Be honest about where the system broke down. That's how we fix this." He nodded, looking relieved to have clear direction. Victor Hale walked Dr. Lena Thompson to her BMW. "You're remarkably calm." "I'm furious," she said quietly, "but anger makes mistakes. Documentation makes change." She climbed into her car. The interior was exactly as she had left it. Coffee in the cup holder, briefcase on the passenger seat, NPR still cued on the radio. Officer Caldwell's violation had been against something deeper than property. It was against dignity, against the right to exist in spaces you had earned access to. Dr. Lena Thompson drove out of Spot 47. In her rearview mirror, she watched the crowd dispersing. Phones were still out. The story was still spreading. Local news vans were pulling in. She had time to get to her board meeting. She had a company to help run, decisions to make about quarterly earnings and lease negotiations. But first, she had a system to dismantle. The live streams had reached thousands of combined viewers. The story was going viral, and Officer Ryan Caldwell had no idea what was about to hit him. Dr. Lena Thompson arrived at the Riverside Properties conference room. The space occupied the entire 12th floor, glass walls offering a city view that stretched for miles. 8 board members sat around an oval table made of reclaimed wood and steel. Chairman Mark Sullivan looked up immediately. He was in his 50s with silver hair and the kind of expensive glasses that doubled as a status symbol. "Lena, you all right?" Victor Hale had briefed them. "I'm fine." She set her briefcase down and pulled out her laptop. "But we have a systemic problem. That parking lot incident isn't isolated, it's symptomatic." She connected to the room's display screen. A presentation appeared, charts, graphs, data tables. "I've been compiling this for some time, waiting for the right moment to present it." The first slide showed a heat map of Riverside Mall's parking lots. Red dots clustered in certain sections. These represent suspicious activity calls logged by our security contractors. Next slide, demographic breakdown. The vast majority of those calls involve Black or Latino shoppers. Our demographic data shows these groups represent a significant but minority portion of our customer base. Angela Hartley, a white woman in her 60s who served as CFO, leaned forward. "My God, it gets worse," Dr. Lena Thompson continued. "A high percentage of those incidents resulted in police contact. Police were called on shoppers who were doing nothing except existing in our mall." Next slide, outcome data. 0 of those calls resulted in actual crimes discovered. No theft, no trespassing, no vandalism, nothing. She paused to let that sink in. Now here's the part that should terrify us from a business perspective. Final slide, spending analysis. Average purchase amount for shoppers who were profiled and contacted was significantly higher than our overall mall average. We are literally harassing our best customers. The room went silent. Board member Thomas Way, who oversaw operations, looked physically ill. "How did we not catch this?" "Because no one was looking at the pattern," Dr. Lena Thompson said. "Individual incidents get filed, logged, forgotten. But when you aggregate the data, the discrimination becomes undeniable." Chairman Mark Sullivan's voice was grim. "What happened to you today? It's happened many other times. At least these are just the logged calls. How many people were followed, questioned, or intimidated without any call being made?" Her attorney, James Rutherford, joined via video conference. His face appeared on a secondary screen, a black man in his 60s with decades of civil rights law behind him. Dr. Thompson's case is textbook Title II civil rights violation plus state-level discrimination statutes. But here's the bigger exposure. James pulled up his own presentation. Negligent hiring and supervision. Your mall security contracts with Secure Plus, which subcontracts police details. No oversight of officer conduct, no bias training requirements, no accountability measures. He clicked to the next section. Pattern and practice liability. The incidents create a clear pattern. Any competent attorney could argue you knew or should have known about systemic discrimination occurring on your property. Another click. Reputational damage. Videos from today's incident have hundreds of thousands of combined views across platforms. Local news is running the story. National outlets are picking it up. Final click, $signs, potential class action. Those profiled shoppers could join a lawsuit. My conservative estimate of exposure is millions in settlements, legal fees, and reputation damage. The board sat in stunned silence. I'm not interested in suing us, Dr. Lena Thompson said. I'm a co-owner, but I am interested in making this right and preventing recurrence. She pulled up her own final slide, proposed actions. 1. Terminate contract with Secure Plus immediately. 2. Issue public apology and policy reform announcement. 3. Implement third-party bias auditing for all security and police partnerships. Quarterly reviews, public reporting. She continued. 4. Create a substantial fund for community partnerships and anti-bias training. 5. Ban Officer Ryan Caldwell from all Riverside properties permanently. I want it in writing. Distributed to every security contractor, every police liaison. Chairman Mark looked around the table. All in favor? 8 hands rose simultaneously, unanimous. What about Caldwell's department? Angela asked. Dr. Lena Thompson's expression shifted slightly. I'll handle that separately. As some of you know, I serve on the Police Community Oversight Board. Half the room reacted with surprise. Dr. Lena Thompson had been strategic about keeping her various roles separate. Board member Sarah Chen spoke up. You're on the Oversight Board? For some time, Dr. Lena Thompson said simply. I was appointed to represent community stakeholders in police accountability matters. The implications settled over the room like fog. Dr. Lena Thompson was not just a victim. She was a system insider with leverage most people never accessed. Later, Dr. Lena Thompson arrived at Police Chief Carla Brooks's office. The chief was a black woman with years on the force and eyes that had seen too much. Dr. Thompson, the chief gestured to a chair. I've been watching the videos. Caldwell is on administrative leave pending investigation. That's a start. Dr. Lena Thompson sat down and pulled out a folder. But I want more than bureaucratic process. I want accountability. She laid out printed documentation, false reports. He claims security called about me. Dispatch logs will show no such call existed. Fabricated probable cause for a vehicle tow. Discriminatory language caught on multiple cameras and his own body cam. Retaliation against his partner when she questioned his actions. Chief Carla Brooks reviewed the papers. Her expression was weary. Lena, I can't just fire a veteran officer without... I'm not asking you to fire him yet. Dr. Lena Thompson pulled out another document. I've documented numerous similar complaints against Officer Caldwell, all quietly settled or dismissed. I have victims willing to testify now that they see someone stood up to him. She slid across a final page. I'm asking for a transparent investigation with civilian oversight. The Oversight Board will vote on independent review at the next meeting. I'm asking you to support that vote instead of fighting it. The chief's jaw tightened. What do you want, Lena? Truth, accountability, change. Dr. Lena Thompson's voice was quiet but unyielding. If the investigation proves what we both know it will, Caldwell should face termination, and the department needs to audit its complaint resolution process. Complaints shouldn't disappear into bureaucracy. Chief Carla Brooks looked at the ceiling, then back at Dr. Lena Thompson. You know what this is going to cost me politically. The union will have to accept that their job is protecting good officers, not shielding bad ones. Dr. Lena Thompson stood. Chief, I respect you. I know the position you're in, but I was humiliated in a parking lot today by one of your officers who felt entitled to lie, discriminate, and abuse his authority. And he's done it before, multiple times, to people who didn't have the resources I have to fight back. She picked up her folder. So yes, this will be politically difficult, but it's also right, and I'm going to push for it whether you support me or oppose me. I'd prefer your support. The chief was silent for a long moment. Finally, she nodded. I'll support the independent review, and I'll personally oversee the internal investigation. Thank you, Dr. Lena Thompson said as she left the building. Dr. Lena Thompson's phone buzzed constantly. Text messages, emails, social media notifications. The story had spread beyond local news. Major networks had reached out. Her mother called. Baby, are you safe? Do you need to come stay with us? I'm fine, Mom, really. You humiliated a police officer on camera. These people will face accountability, Dr. Lena Thompson said gently. That's what we're doing. That's what all of this is for. After she hung up, Dr. Lena Thompson sat in her car in the police station parking lot. Her hands were shaking. They had been steady all day through the confrontation, the board meeting, the chief's office. Now alone, the adrenaline was crashing. She allowed herself a few minutes to feel the fear, the anger, the exhaustion, a few minutes to acknowledge that she had been violated, disrespected, threatened, a few minutes to be human instead of strategic. Then she started her car and drove home. She had work to do. The fight had just begun. Later, the internal affairs findings landed on Chief Carla Brooks's desk. Dr. Lena Thompson received her copy via encrypted email. She read it twice, highlighting key sections. Multiple prior complaints against Officer Ryan Caldwell, substantiated upon re-review. The original investigations had been cursory at best, dismissive at worst. False reporting in Dr. Lena Thompson's case, confirmed via mall footage and phone records. No security call had ever been made. Discriminatory language documented in body cam audio that Officer Caldwell had apparently forgotten was recording. Retaliation and intimidation of Officer Lisa Ramirez proven through her own testimony and witness statements. The recommended outcome: termination with prejudice, pension review for reduction due to sustained misconduct, permanent ban from law enforcement in the state. The police union immediately filed a grievance. They held a press conference calling the investigation a witch hunt driven by political pressure and social media mob mentality. Dr. Lena Thompson watched the press conference from her office. The union president was red-faced, angry, defending Officer Caldwell as a dedicated officer being sacrificed to appease activists. She made 3 phone calls. First, to James Rutherford, her attorney. File the civil suit today. I want discovery to start immediately. Second, to a colleague on the oversight board. Emergency meeting. We need to vote on public recommendations before the union can muddy this further. Third, to a reporter at a major newspaper who had been covering police accountability cases. I'll give you an exclusive interview, but I want to talk about the system, not just my case. The civil suit filing made headlines. Dr. Lena Thompson versus Officer Ryan Caldwell and the City Police Department seeking damages for civil rights violations, emotional distress, and systemic negligence. The complaint was lengthy, meticulously documented, devastating in its detail. Officer Caldwell's attorney tried to settle quietly with a substantial amount, non-disclosure agreement, no admission of wrongdoing. James Rutherford laughed. Tell your client he's delusional. We're going to trial and we're going to win, but I'll accept a higher amount with a full public apology. No NDA. The world needs to see what happened here. After weeks of negotiation, the settlement was finalized. Officer Caldwell personally contributed what he could. The remainder came from the union's legal defense fund and the city's insurance policy. But Dr. Lena Thompson had already decided where every dollar would go, not to her, to reform. She stood before the Oversight Board at their public meeting. "I'm donating the entire settlement to accountability initiatives, a large portion to a community oversight fund for investigating discrimination complaints, another portion to expand the body camera program, funds for mandatory implicit bias training, and to a legal aid fund for discrimination victims who can't afford attorneys." The room erupted in applause, but Dr. Lena Thompson was not finished. "I'm also proposing concrete reforms that Riverside Properties has already implemented, and other entities should adopt. First, a new complaint resolution system, independent civilian review board for all discrimination complaints, mandatory resolution timeline, public reporting of outcomes." She pulled up a demonstration on the screen. "Second, technology solutions. Riverside Properties has launched the Park Fair app, QR code scan for automatic parking validation, built-in dispute resolution button with direct video upload to property management. Within weeks of launch, we've had 0 profiling incidents." Next slide. Third, security contract audits. We reviewed all Riverside Properties, terminated contracts with several security firms. New contracts include anti-discrimination clauses with automatic financial penalties for substantiated complaints. She showed training footage. Fourth, comprehensive bias training, not a one-time seminar, but regular workshops with scenario-based learning. We use professional actors to simulate real situations. Officers and security personnel practice de-escalation and non-discriminatory response. Final slide showed a photo of Officer Lisa Ramirez in her new sergeant's uniform. Fifth, we promote and empower the people who do the right thing. Sergeant Ramirez is now our department's bias training coordinator. She designs curriculum and evaluates officer performance. Chairman Mark Sullivan, Riverside's chairman, spoke next. "Since implementing these reforms, we've had 0 profiling complaints across all properties for consecutive months. Customer satisfaction scores are up significantly among minority shoppers. Revenue from previously profiled demographics has increased." He paused. "Anti-discrimination isn't just morally right, it's good business." Other property management companies contacted Riverside requesting information about the Park Fair app. Many companies adopted it. The police department's changes were slower but measurable. Discrimination complaints dropped significantly across all demographics in the following year. The Independent Review Board upheld a much higher percentage of filed complaints, a dramatic increase from previous internal affairs substantiation rates. Officer Caldwell became a case study. Police academies used the Caldwell incident as a textbook example of bias escalation, how assumptions compound into actions, how unchecked authority enables discrimination, how systemic protection allows bad actors to persist. Dr. Lena Thompson was invited to speak at universities, corporate conferences, and hearings on discrimination in law enforcement. She always brought data. Numbers do not lie, and they do not let people dismiss stories as exceptions. At prestigious schools, they developed case studies. The Thompson versus Caldwell strategic response to systemic discrimination. Business schools and law schools taught it. The case examined her tactical decisions, staying calm, documenting everything, using institutional leverage, demanding systemic change instead of personal revenge. But there were costs nobody mentioned in the case studies. Dr. Lena Thompson attended therapy, dealing with post-traumatic stress. Parking lots triggered anxiety. Seeing police cars made her hyper-vigilant. She would wake in the early hours replaying the confrontation, imagining all the ways it could have gone worse. Her family worried constantly. Her mother called regularly. "Baby, maybe you should step back. These people know where you live." The online harassment was relentless, thousands of racist messages and threats. She forwarded everything to the FBI. Most were anonymous cowards. Some resulted in arrests for credible threats, but there were also many messages of gratitude. You fought for all of us. Thank you for not backing down. My daughter saw your story, and it changed how she sees herself. Dr. Lena Thompson kept a folder of those messages. On hard days, she read them. Standing in parking spot 47 later, she looked at the small plaque the board had insisted on installing, reserved for Dr. L. Thompson, board member. She had argued against it. They had compromised by making it about title, not her personally. The spot looked ordinary. Asphalt, white lines, a few oil stains. Nothing indicated it had been the site of a confrontation that sparked systemic change. Dr. Lena Thompson's phone buzzed. A text from a young teacher who had been profiled at a grocery store months ago. He had used her playbook, stayed calm, gathered witnesses, documented everything. The store manager had been fired, the employee retrained. He now ran Know Your Rights workshops in his community. Just finished our workshop. Dozens of people attended. Thank you for showing us it's possible. Dr. Lena Thompson smiled. This was the real victory. Not the settlement, not the reforms, not even Officer Caldwell's termination. The victory was in the ripples, in people refusing to accept injustice, in systems slowly, painfully bending toward accountability. The transformation happened in layers. Some changes were immediate, visible, concrete. Others took time, requiring constant pressure and vigilance. Riverside Properties security overhaul became an industry model. Every guard and contracted officer now wore body cameras linked to cloud storage they could not access or delete. Footage automatically flagged incidents involving detentions, citations, or complaints. A third-party firm reviewed flagged footage regularly, issuing public reports with anonymized data. The Park Fair app expanded beyond parking. Users could rate their security interactions, report concerns, upload evidence. The app aggregated data, identified patterns, and sent automatic alerts when specific guards or locations showed concerning trends. Many property management companies across states had adopted versions of the system. The technology was not revolutionary. It was accountability made convenient. Officer Lisa Ramirez thrived in her new role. As the department's bias training coordinator, she designed scenario-based exercises that made officers uncomfortable in productive ways. They had to explain their decisions, defend their assumptions, experience what it felt like to be on the receiving end of bias. The old training was useless, Officer Ramirez told a reporter. Now we do regular hands-on workshops. Professional actors play shoppers, drivers, community members. Officers practice de-escalation. We record everything and review it together. She continued, the first time someone watches themselves make assumptions based on race, actually sees it on video, that's when change starts. You can't unsee your own bias once it's documented. The department's complaint resolution changed fundamentally. The Civilian Review Board included community members, legal experts, and mental health professionals. They had subpoena power, budget for independent investigators, mandatory public reports. They reviewed dozens of complaints and substantiated a significant number. That meant officers facing real consequences, retraining, suspension, or termination, instead of the bureaucratic dismissals that had protected Officer Ryan Caldwell for years. The cultural shift was harder to measure, but impossible to miss. Stories multiplied not because discrimination had increased, but because people now believed accountability was possible. They documented, they filed complaints, they refused to accept "that's just how it is" as an answer. Dr. Lena Thompson tracked these stories. She maintained a database not for litigation, but for evidence. Evidence that change was real, measurable, spreading. Cities contacted Riverside about the Park Fair app. Many implemented it fully or ran pilot programs. Universities studied the results. Early data showed substantial reduction in discrimination complaints in properties using the technology. The case study on her strategic response became required reading in business ethics and civil rights law courses. Students analyzed Dr. Lena Thompson's decisions. They debated tactics. They learned that individual victories could create systemic change. But Dr. Lena Thompson was careful in interviews to emphasize the limitations. Not everyone can do what I did. I had resources, money, education, legal knowledge, institutional position. Most people don't have those tools. That's why the system has to change. Justice can't depend on victims having resources. She pushed this point relentlessly in every speech, every interview, every public appearance. If accountability only works when the victim is wealthy or connected, that's not accountability. That's privilege. Real reform means protecting everyone equally. The financial impact on Officer Ryan Caldwell was severe and permanent. The settlement forced him to sell his house. He moved to a smaller town, working security for low pay. His law enforcement career was over, his reputation destroyed, his marriage strained to breaking. Some people felt sympathy. Dr. Lena Thompson was not one of them. He had years of chances, multiple complaints, dozens of people he humiliated or harmed. The system protected him for years while he harmed vulnerable people. I don't celebrate his suffering, but I don't mourn consequences he earned. The police union continued to fight the reforms. They filed grievances, challenged the Civilian Review Board in court, pushed back on every new accountability measure, but public opinion had shifted. The parking lot videos had been seen by millions. People understood now what had been invisible before. Dr. Lena Thompson was appointed to a state-level task force on bias in policing. She brought her data, her case studies, her concrete proposals for technology, training, and transparency. Some proposals were adopted, others died in committee. Progress was slow, frustrating, incomplete, but it was progress. Later, Dr. Lena Thompson received an email from a woman in another state. I was profiled at a mall. Security followed me, accused me of shoplifting. I remembered your story. I stayed calm. I documented everything. I filed a complaint. The security guard was fired. The company is implementing new training. Thank you for showing me it was possible. Dr. Lena Thompson printed that email and put it in her folder. Evidence that the fight mattered, that speaking up created permission for others to speak, that one person refusing to accept injustice could inspire thousands to do the same. The system was changing slowly, painfully, incompletely, but changing. And Officer Ryan Caldwell would never wear a badge again. Dr. Lena Thompson stood in the same parking lot where everything had changed. Spot 47 looked the same as any other space. White lines on asphalt, nothing special. But for her, it represented something larger, a moment when power met accountability and lost. Therapy had helped with the post-traumatic stress. She no longer felt panic in parking lots. Police cars did not trigger the same hypervigilance, but she remained alert in ways she had not been before. Once you see how quickly authority can become abuse, you can't unsee it. Her family had been terrified. Her mother still called to make sure she was safe. Her sister had researched security systems and insisted Dr. Lena Thompson install cameras at her house. The fear was reasonable. She had humiliated powerful institutions, made enemies of people accustomed to operating without consequences. But she had also made allies. Thousands of people who had experienced discrimination and felt alone now had a template, a story that showed resistance was possible. That documentation mattered, that staying calm and strategic could defeat rage and intimidation. The online harassment had been vicious. Thousands of racist messages, death threats detailed enough that the FBI had to investigate. Some arrests, dozens of anonymous cowards who would never face consequences for their hate. But there had also been thousands of messages of gratitude. Stories from people who had faced similar situations and never knew they could fight back. Parents who showed their children Dr. Lena Thompson's story to teach them about dignity and power. Teachers who used the case to discuss civil rights and systemic change. Dr. Lena Thompson kept all of it, the hate and the gratitude, in separate folders. The hate reminded her why the work mattered. The gratitude reminded her the cost was worth it. She had been invited everywhere. Universities wanted her to speak, corporations wanted her to consult, media wanted her story, publishers offered book deals. She accepted carefully, strategically, always asking herself, will this create change or just create celebrity? Riverside Properties had grown. Customers appreciate businesses that treat them with dignity. The reformed security protocols had become a marketing advantage. Shop where everyone belongs became their tagline. It was not just words. The data proved they meant it. But Dr. Lena Thompson's philosophy remained unchanged. I had resources most people don't have. Money, education, legal knowledge, position that creates obligation. If I don't use those tools for change, what's the point of having them? She thought about Officer Ryan Caldwell sometimes, not with satisfaction. His suffering did not undo what he had done, but with a grim acknowledgement that consequences had finally caught someone who had evaded them for years. Multiple complaints. How many people had he harmed who did not have the resources to fight back? The real victory was not Officer Caldwell's termination. It was the other people who had been emboldened to file complaints they had been too afraid to file before. It was the teacher running his Know Your Rights workshops. It was the nurse successfully challenging her traffic stop. It was the student serving on an advisory board. It was the ripples spreading outward, touching people Dr. Lena Thompson would never meet, creating change she would never directly witness. These stories, these real-life stories of standing up to power, they matter because they show what is possible. They transform touching stories of pain into blueprints for resistance. If you have experienced discrimination that seemed impossible to fight, know this: your experience matters. Document everything, every detail, every witness, every moment. Report formally. Do not just post online. Connect with organizations that maintain databases and fight systemic battles. Support others by commenting on their stories, amplifying their voices, refusing to let injustice be normalized. Dr. Lena Thompson had one final message, the same one she delivered everywhere she spoke. Officer Ryan Caldwell believed he had all the power that day. He was wrong. You have power too in your voice, your evidence, your refusal to accept injustice. Use it. Share this story if you believe accountability matters. Comment with your own experiences. The more we speak, the harder we are to ignore. Subscribe to see more real-life stories of ordinary people achieving extraordinary justice, because the more people who see how change happens, the more change becomes possible. These stories of resistance and reform, they are not just about the past. They are instructions for the future.